Hey everybody, so in this quick tutorial we're going to go through the steps of getting VCV Rack installed and set up. That's the next piece of software we're going to be using in the class. So go to the website vcvrack.com, go over here to the register login link and register for an account so that you can install VCV Rack modules using the VCV library, which we're going to need to do today. If you've already created an account, you can log in to your account. You're going to want to download VCV Rack. So you can go to VCV Rack here and download for Mac, Windows, or Linux. Once you've downloaded and installed on your computer, you're going to want to run VCV Rack, and it should open up with this default example patch, demo patch. If it doesn't, you can say File, New, and it will prompt you to save the current patch. Don't save it, just hit OK, and it'll load up this demo patch. The first thing you need to do in the demo patch is select your output device from the Audio 8 plugin. So we'll go down and I will select my external headphones. And then because this MIDI CV is set up to the QWERTY keyboard, I'm able to play this synthesizer here from my keyboard. So I'm going to hit the keys ZXCV. And those are the first four notes of the diatonic scale or the major scale. And you can play the whole scale across the bottom of the keyboard. And you can play an octave higher starting with Q. And if you're a musician and you understand the difference between a diatonic scale and a chromatic scale, note that you can play the chromatic scale by diagonally skipping to the chromatic notes just as they're laid out on a piano. So the first five chromatic notes would be Z, S, X, D, C, etc. And if for any reason this is not working or not producing sound, please get in touch with me right away so we can get this sorted out. And don't worry about what these controls do right now. This is what we're going to be covering in future tutorials. We also need to install some plugins into our library. So the first thing you need to do is log into your account within VCV Rack. And you can see I'm already logged in because it says log out here, but you may see a place to register VCV account if you didn't do it on the web page, or put in your email and password here so that you can log in. Once you're logged in, you can click on Manage Plugins, and that's going to open your web browser and take you to the vcvrack.com/plugins page. Today we're just going to install one set of plugins. So click on the Brand pull-down menu. Go to Impromptu. And we're going to subscribe to the Impromptu plugins. You can see I'm already subscribed to them, so it says unsubscribe from Impromptu. But for you, because you're not yet subscribed, it's going to say subscribe to Impromptu. Just click there, and now you're subscribed. If you see this blue unsubscribe from Impromptu, that means you have successfully subscribed. So now what we're going to have to do is restart VCV Rack so that these plugins that we just subscribed to are downloaded by the Rack and are available to us. I'm going to quit Rack, restart Rack, and now we see there's a red marker by our library here. We click on that and say Update All, and it will update, download, and update all of the new plugins. All plugins have been downloaded. Close and relaunch Rack to load new updates. So we relaunch Rack one more time. Now when we check our library, it says up to date. So let's try installing one of the new plugins that we downloaded. So let's delete Notes. Click and hit the delete key to make some space. Let's delete MIDI CV. Click and hit the delete key. and we'll scroll over to make some space here. I'm going to right click, and down at the bottom I'm going to select impromptu, and I'm going to select clocked, and that will place the clocked plugin into our patch. We're going to put the output of clock 1. By clicking, it's going to create a chord. If you let go of the mouse, the chord will disappear. So click and hold out of clock 1, connect it to the gate input of the ADSR, and select your audio output. And you should hear that pulse. So this is a clock generator driving our sequencer instead of the keyboard. So I'll just show you a few things in here that we're going to get into more detail in the tutorial. But the clock can be turned on and off with the run button. And the speed of the clock in beats per minute can be set with this knob. If you get a stuck note like this, you can just quickly turn on and off the clock again, and that'll clear that note. The pulse width here will set the length of the gate that's causing the note. And the ratio will double, triple, quadruple the speed of the individual clock pulses. So if I turn this up to ×2, I'm going to get twice as fast a clock pulse. ×4. Just a few other controls I'll show you briefly, just so you have a sense of what we're getting into. The frequency of the voltage-controlled oscillator determines the pitch of the sound. And the frequency of the voltage-controlled filter functions the same way as the filters we've looked at before, both when we did the low-cut filter, when we were removing the low frequencies from the voice, and also when we were working in the EQ. This is a low-pass filter, meaning it's cutting out the high frequencies and allowing the low frequencies to pass. And the resonance corresponds to how much amplification there is of the sound at the cutoff frequency. The way this default synthesizer is set up, we see that the output of this ADSR is controlling the frequency of our voltage-controlled filter. Let's break that connection by clicking on the frequency output and dragging it and dropping it in any gray or white blank space. That breaks the connection. And now we'll be able to control the cutoff frequency of this filter, and you'll hear that it's doing the same thing as the EQ, where the resonance here represents the amount of amplification at the cutoff frequency. And that's just a quick introduction to some of the controls that we're going to go into much greater detail on. So let's try and make a test recording of this. To do that, we're going to right-click again and switch to the VCV modules, and we'll put in a REC module, which is the VCV's recorder. Place that at the end of our chain here, and then we're going to connect the left inlet of the recorder to the mix output of the mixer, and also the right inlet to the mix output of the mixer. We'll click the record button. It will ask us to save this as a file. We'll call it VCV test record 1, and it's going to ask us where to save that. The default location is inside the Rack folder, inside the Documents folder, inside the Home folder. You can choose to save it wherever you want. I'll save it on my desktop. And then when this red light is lit up, it's actively recording. So any sound we make now will be recorded into a file. And when you're done, hit stop, and we're going to check that file. VCV test record opens up in Audacity, and we'll check it. Perfect. So you're going to upload this test recording that you made to Blackboard. And if you have any questions about the installation or basic configuration of VCV Rack, to get in touch with me. Otherwise, we're going to go into detail on it in the next tutorial.